We'll begin with a profile of food insecurity in Canada's biggest city. An annual Who's Hungry report shows the number of client visits to food banks in Toronto has surpassed the city's population. The report shows nearly 3.5 million client visits to food banks in the last year. That's nearly 1 million more than the year before. Among the key findings, more than 1 in 10 Torontonians rely on food banks, a rise of 36%. 57% of food bank clients said the cost of living was the main reason for visiting. And 87% of clients live in unaffordable housing, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on rent and utilities. And to talk more about this, joining me now is Neil Hetherington. He is the CEO of the Daily Bread Food Bank. Neil, good to see you. It seems every year food bank use is reaching new highs. Why do we continue to see these increases in food bank visits?
Well, it's a combination of things. And the first and foremost would be around affordable housing. There is a lack of decent, affordable housing across the country. And in Toronto, we feel that. And at a systemic level, that is causing more and more people to come to the Daily Bread Food Bank. In fact, this past year, there were 155,000 people who had never used a food bank before who came to the Daily Bread for the very first time. And that's appalling in a city as wonderful as Toronto is.
How many of the people using the food bank are employed with decent jobs?
Yeah, that's the frightening part to me. More than 59% have a post-secondary education. More than 50% have full-time employment. And so they did everything right. They went to school, they got a job, they're working hard, and yet they still rely on friends, family, and charity in order to get by. There's about 9 million of the 40 million Canadians who now are food insecure. And so, I feel like we can agonize over these numbers, or we can organize for our neighbors. And I choose to organize for our neighbors and hope that governments of all levels start to implement the recommendations that Daily Bread has brought forward.
What about the unhoused population using food banks? Is that increasing as well?
That's increasing at the largest rate of any segment of the population. So these are individuals who have, they've lost their housing. They're in encampments. They are in absolute homelessness, and they require food banks. Generally, many of them are on income supports that are wholly inadequate. In Ontario, as an example, if you're on disability, you receive $1,300 a month. The poverty line is $2,300 a month. I'm not sure how anybody who is unhoused is going to be able to get first and last month's rent in order to move from their precarious situation into one of hope.
True. So how are you dealing with all of this?
It's been very difficult. We've gone from spending $1.5 million a year to $29 million a year just on food. And we're not going to be able to deal with this. We are reaching a level that in about 18 months' time, we will begin, unfortunately, to have to decrease the amount of food we distribute to those most needy in our sector.
I see. That is our time. We will have to leave it there. Neil Hetherington, CEO of Daily Bread Food Bank, rather. Thank you so much for being here, Neil. All the best to you. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Renee.